I have two absolutely giant boxes.
It's easy here to find kids 11 or 12 years old making garments. In fact, when colleague Ravina Alak worked undercover, her manager was 9.
This is a lot of stuff. Ooh.
This woman and her daughter both work at Mondi Apparels. They each earn around $50 a month.
Hey guys, welcome to the Fresh Canvas channel. I am so glad to have you here with me. In today's video, we're going to be talking about an aspect of fashion that I have come to love learning about and sharing, and that is sustainable fashion. This will be a series that will be broken into 2 parts, with this video being part 1. In part 1, we will look at what sustainable fashion is, what fast fashion is. We will also look at its impact on the environment and our society. And then in part 2, we will look at the benefits of sustainable fashion, how to adopt a sustainable fashion lifestyle, and we will address some of the misconceptions about sustainable fashion. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Sustainable fashion means
being thoughtful,
artisanal, personal style,
A garment with a story.
circularity, and community.
Zero waste.
So what is sustainable fashion? Well, sustainable fashion refers to clothing, accessories, or footwear that have been designed, produced, distributed, and consumed in a way that prioritizes environmental, social, and economic sustainability. This concept seeks to minimize the negative impact on the fashion industry while promoting ethical labor practices and responsible resource use.
At the beginning of this century, we bought almost half as much and kept clothes for twice as long. 15 years later, we bought 60% more and kept them for half the time.
So in order to understand the importance of sustainable fashion, we need to look at fast fashion, what it is, and its impact on the environment and our society. So let's start by looking at the definition of fast fashion and a brief history of fast fashion. So what is fast fashion? Fast fashion refers to the rapid production of inexpensive clothing that imitates current trends, often at the cost of quality, ethical labor practices, and environmental sustainability. The fast fashion model prioritizes speed and cost efficiency. It encourages overconsumption and frequent wardrobe turnover. Some of the characteristics of fast fashion are cheap, trendy, quickly produced.
The New York Times coined the term fast fashion in this 1989 article about the first US store of Zara. The latest trend is what we're after, a Zara executive told the Times. It takes 15 days between a new idea and getting it into the stores. Remember, that took most stores 9 months.
So let's look at a brief history of the emergence of fast fashion. Fast fashion emerged in the late 20th century as clothing production became shorter and cheaper due to globalization, advancements in technology, and outsourcing. Brands like H&M and Zara pioneered the fast fashion model in the 1990s by shortening production to just weeks to capitalize on rapidly changing trends. This shift caused trendy clothing to become more accessible and affordable, but also led to overproduction, poor labor conditions, and significant environmental harm. By the 2010s, fast fashion had dominated the global market, but also sparked criticism and a move to more sustainable alternatives. So some examples of fast fashion brands in South Africa include Mr. Price, The Fakes, Cotton On, Jet, and Pep. And some examples of international fast fashion brands include H&M, Zara, and Shein.
It takes around 8,000 litres of water to make one pair. That's 53 bathtubs full. How come? Growing the cotton uses most of the water. It's a very thirsty plant. If the rains fail, cotton fields have to be irrigated. And if the cotton is to be spun into jeans, it also needs colouring, rinsing and bleaching. That pollutes a lot of water.
So now let's look at how fast fashion impacts our environment. Fast fashion contributes heavily to pollution, resource depletion, and wastage. Fast fashion uses large amounts of water for dyeing and fabric production, which leads to water wastage. Additionally, these toxic chemicals often end up in local rivers, contaminating local water supplies. The fast fashion industry contributes to 10% of global carbon emissions, and this is due to the energy-intensive production processes, transportation and packaging, and global carbon emissions contribute to global warming. Fast fashion also encourages disposable clothing culture, and this leads to vast amounts of textile waste. Many clothes are only worn a few times before being discarded, and many of these clothes end up in landfills or incinerators. Synthetic fibers like polyester, which is commonly used in fast fashion, shed microplastics during the washing process, and these ultimately end up in the ocean and harm marine life. Fast fashion heavily relies on the use of non-renewable resources such as petroleum for the synthetic fibers, and uses large quantities of water, as we've already mentioned, and energy. So as you can see by all the things that I have mentioned, fast fashion promotes overproduction, overconsumption, and waste, which takes a strain on our environment. So now that we've looked at the environmental impact, let's look at the social impact of fast fashion.
If you own clothes that were made in Bangladesh, this is where they come from. It's one of the poorest countries in the world.
The social impact of fast fashion is wide-reaching, particularly in terms of labor conditions, economic inequality, and consumer behavior. Many fast fashion companies outsource production to countries that have low-cost labor. Many of these workers, which are primarily women, are paid very low wages and work in poor conditions. Many face unsafe working environments, long hours of work, and a lack of labor rights. And this leads to a continuous cycle of exploitation in these factories. Some fast fashion supply chains use child labor to keep the production cost low. These children are forced to work in unsafe environments for long hours, missing out on school and facing serious health risks. The fast fashion industry also contributes to economic inequality. The profits that are made by these large corporations do not get distributed equally. The workers in these developing countries often earn a fraction of the price that consumers pay for the product, and this perpetuates poverty. Fast fashion also contributes to a culture of overconsumption, where consumers purchase clothing frequently and discard it quickly. And this creates a cycle of wastage and materialism. And this then undermines the value of quality, craftsmanship, and longevity in clothing. The use of toxic chemicals in the production of fast fashion can also have harmful effects on both the workers and the consumers. These chemicals can cause health issues such as skin irritation, respiratory issues, and long-term health issues on both the workers and those who wear the garments. So overall, the social impact of fast fashion highlights significant ethical concerns regarding human rights, labor practices, and the broader implications of overconsumption in a globalized economy. And there you have it. Awareness and knowledge of fast fashion and its impact on our environment and our society. And I believe that this is truly relevant now more than ever. And it's important for us to be aware of the impact of fast fashion and the need for sustainable fashion. I hope that you guys have learned something from this video. I know I did. And I hope that you have been encouraged to look at fashion in a deeper and more nuanced way. I hope that you've also been encouraged to be more mindful and conscious of the way that you consume fashion. As I've mentioned, there'll be a part 2 of this video, and in part 2 we will look at the benefits of sustainable fashion, ways to adopt a sustainable fashion lifestyle, and we will address some misconceptions regarding sustainable fashion. Feel free to drop a comment sharing your thoughts on the fashion industry and the impact of fast fashion on the environment and society. Feel free to ask questions if you have. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.